and we are kicking off with an amazing panel for International Women's Month, absolutely. I will not be hosting this year anymore. I've decided to step down and hand the reins to an amazing friend of mine, an amazing Black woman in her own right, to Whitney Asamani. You may have seen her last year if you attended as well. So she will be taking you forward as a woman who is a music manager herself in this field. So I think someone to have a bit more experience and a bit more kind of to talk with. But I'm very excited to hand over this month's first session. Whitney, take us away.
Hi all, thanks for joining us this evening. Lots of like familiar faces and names. Just want to have like open discussions and just hope that we can get some, well, I guess share some information, some knowledge, and you know, be able to shine a spotlight on some of the amazing women that we have on our panel.
Good.
Someone needs to mute. So shall I just head straight in and talk about what we're going to be chatting about today? But before we do that, actually, I think that we should introduce the women that we have on the panel. So since I can see that Shikayla is not muted, can you go first for me?
Hi everyone, my name is Shikayla. I am an artist manager from Northwest London. I manage an artist called Rebecca Garton, who is an R&B singer, and also Levelle London, who's he's a singer, songwriter, engineer and producer. And I'm happy to be here. I'm part of the MMF, and I've recently been accepted onto the MMF Accelerator program, which is to push me as an artist manager. So as much as I am on this panel, I'm still going through my journey in management.
Amazing. And Shawnee, could you introduce yourself next?
Hi everyone, I'm Shawnee. I have a publishing company and a consultancy company. I guess how like probably a lot of you guys know me is because I'm super into educating everyone on publishing royalties and teaching everyone how to monetize their music and make sure they're getting the most out of their catalogs. I'm so happy to be here because I'm familiar with all of you guys. I'm so proud to be on here with all of you lot. You guys are amazing.
Thank you. And then absolutely last but not least, Nikke, can you introduce yourself, please?
Hi everyone, I'm Nikke. I'm a music manager. I've been in the industry this week 10 years. So it's gone really quickly. I look after singer-songwriter Shaka and also a producer called Comens. Last year I started consulting as well. So I advise up and coming managers and artists and give them advice on how to take things to the next level. I also give insights into the music industry on my Instagram every week. That's me. And I'm also honored to be on the panel as well.
I love your Instagram. I guess we can dive into that a little bit later, maybe when we get into section 3 when we talk about like legacy. But yeah, thank you for the tips that you share because I actually find them useful too. So today's panel, we're actually going to be talking about well, a broad range of subjects, but topic number 1 is misogynoir. And just for the people that maybe don't know what that is the unique discrimination that we face by being both Black and women. The term was created in 2010 by a queer Black woman in America to really talk about misogyny in the music industry. And although misogynoir can be perpetrated by anyone, specifically she was talking about misogyny directed to Black women from Black men. But we're going to just open up it and be quite broad. So I guess our first question is, have you had any experience with misogynoir in the music industry? I might go to, well, let's land back actually on Nikke, if you don't mind starting first.
Yeah, as I was saying just before we came on live on this thing, I know I have experienced it, but just as a coping mechanism, I've just kind of like ignored it, and I've just kind of just focused on work so that I don't have to, it's quite painful to kind of recognize and acknowledge the barriers, you know, two different layers of barriers that lay ahead of you, being in the music industry, being a woman and being, you know, Black. So I've kind of like yeah, just buried my head in the sand a little bit and just kind of just powered through. But there have been like quite a few scenarios in my career where I've thought, would that have happened if I was a white male? I don't think so. You know, like there's one particular one that stands out where we were at a record label having a planning meeting about Shaka's music, and a label exec, we disagreed on something, but then he just basically started shouting at me, and I couldn't believe it. I was just, you know, I just thought to myself, this is not how I envisaged label meetings to go. and I just thought, you know, I have a choice here about how I responded, how I could respond, and I just thought, I'm gonna not rise to it, just to kind of create a stark contrast about how bizarre and unprofessional his behavior is. And that's what I did. And then it kind of, you know, everyone kind of, when he left shortly after that, and people were saying, oh, he was completely out of line, and, you know, later on he apologized. But yeah, it just felt really yeah, it felt awkward, and yeah, it wasn't a great experience.
Yeah, definitely must have been uncomfortable and like completely unprofessional on his behalf. And I think it's a shame that, touching on what you started saying, is that we tend to ignore that it's happening because it is just overwhelming, and at times it can feel like the music industry has the back of men, but not necessarily of the women that work within it. Shawnee, do you have any experiences that you could share, or do you think that you've experienced that?
Depends how much time we got.
Okay.
Yeah, to be fair, like just so many to mention, but I think like a couple that sort of stood out is when I was at, you know, job, and I've been in royalties and that for a little while, and those are quite, you know, I don't want to say like really clever jobs, but they are quite intense, like in terms of like, you got to know a bit about finance, got to know a bit about law and stuff. And on my first day, I remember just being overly questioned, like, so what's your background? Where did you come from? Like, so, you know, like basically as to what I took from it was just, what are you doing here? Like,
you
are you
have to over-explain or justify yourself being there and your qualifications, which is frequently said.
Exactly. And the thing is, I didn't see a problem with it until I saw a new person, a straight white male, join, and it was, oh, welcome, yeah, this is so and so. And I thought, but when I started, it wasn't, you know. So that's definitely one. And even now, I'm overly questioned in regards to my knowledge. And I find it doesn't happen when I deal with, you know, other people of color. It's usually something that doesn't look like me. They almost like can't believe like that I'm so knowledgeable and intelligent. And then once, you know, there was a joke in the office about like just music. I'm quite a curvy girl, and just about like music videos, and they were like, Shawnee, you look like you fit right in. Like, maybe you should fill in because they're missing a video girl. You know,
wow,
just
that is like, out of pocket.
yeah. That's just to mention a few.
And Shikayla?
Yeah, so I struggled so much having left university. I decided I want to work in the music industry before I went to university. So I've been in the music industry now for 7 years. I went to university quite late, but I studied music management and brand marketing. And even just like coming out and applying for jobs, internships. And it's like, one time I changed my name on my CV to Nadine. I took the double barrel out, and I started to get calls from more people, and I started to think, wow, am I really not getting these jobs because my name might be considered as like ghetto or black? And so that was really, really difficult for me. So to be honest, I just kind of started to do my own thing until people started to notice me. But then I realized that there were other people that would bop into internships, and they went to university and studied drama, or they just had a dad that knew someone, but they were white, so it was easy for them. And I just kind of thought, why do I have a degree? And actually in my degree, my dissertation was about the representation of Black women in the music industry. And actually this topic and how women, Black women are taken out of music videos. If they're the vocalist, they're replaced by maybe someone that's mixed race or white. It's something that I had seen before I even set foot into the music industry. So it was something that I was very, very aware of. And it was like being praised for not being, oh, I really like you because, you know, you're not the typical black girl. And it's like, well, to me, I am a typical black girl, because what is typical from my family is being successful, is being hardworking, like is being an independent woman. That's what's typical black girl to me. And it's been kind of like, oh, you're not typical, you're not loud. And it's like, no, I am loud. Like, and I've stopped kind of dimming myself down, or dimming the person that I really am down for other people, because it's just like, this is who I am and I'm actually proud of it. So yeah.
No, I hear that, and that's great. Like, thanks for sharing your experiences. So moving on from your experiences as management, have you had to work with artists that you think have experienced misogynoir? How did you deal with that? I'll go to Nikkei.
I haven't, because I look after 2 male clients. I haven't experienced that directly, but what I would say is that I have been part of loads of conversations. You know, you have loads of like speculative conversations with people when you're thinking about the industry and who's coming up next and stuff. And I remember on several occasions having conversations with people, and it just getting the vibe that there's not much excitement or hope around dark-skinned female artists coming through. You know, I've seen that over the years again and again, and it's been heartbreaking. I've been, you know, I've like a prime example being like Ray Black. You know, like I remember when she first came out, I was so excited about her, and speaking to people, they're like, I can't remember exactly which label exec, but it was a guy, and he was just like, yeah, just don't see it, you know, and obviously music is very subjective, but what he was getting at was more just, how do you market someone who's a dark-skinned female, you know? And I just, I found that really sad. But it's not shocking. It's, you know, been the default position in the music industry for a long time. You know, initially we were told, just, you know, black music doesn't sell, you know, like the majority of the population in the UK are, you know, white. So, you know, why would they buy into your music? But then over this last decade, we've seen that turned on its head. It's like, you know, the biggest artist topping the charts all the time, you know, is, you know, Drake, Rihanna, Beyonce. And then we're like, okay, but that's just American. And then we started seeing it here, and all of our, you know, black UK artists started coming through and topping the charts every week as well, and getting #1 albums. And so all of that is kind of being completely, just shown to be a complete like lie, and people can actually identify and enjoy music from someone who doesn't look like them, you know? So, but yeah, that's been my experience, just kind of hearing about black women not being kind of suitable pop stars, as it were.
Yeah, and Shikayla, you manage Rebecca, who is a R&B artist. In your experience across the industry, would you say misogynoir is something that you guys have had to deal with?
Yeah, I mean, before I started working with Rebecca, the first artist that I worked with was Shay Universe, and she is 5'11", she's dark skinned, and she's amazing, like one of the best vocalists I've ever worked with. And I don't know if it was from me or my experience or just the way like she looked, but it was like, you can't take away from this girl's talent, and I'm bringing her in front of you and showing you already the cult following that she has behind her, and you're not like listening. It was like, there's people like, it kind of seems like even with Rebecca, there can only be one black girl. So pick. So, you know, if this is the black girl that we're going to push this year, I'm sorry, but you lot are going to have to wait. And it's like, but we have how many rappers, how many drill rappers, and how many like male artists that can go up against each other all the time. But you only can have one black girl in one genre, and that's it. One rapper and one singer this year, and that's it. And it's just like, come on, you know. So that's what I've experienced with both of my female artists, that kind of, and it takes away the unity between female artists. For me, it's like, well, then now we can't work together, because it seems like there's going to be a competition, which was the reason why we did All Me Part 2, which was to show, no, there are a load of R&B singers and we do love each other and we're all going to work together. Yeah.
And I was a part of that, so yeah. I guess kind of touching on your point, it's like it feels like still what you're saying is it's quite a restrictive space for women in music and for artists in music. And actually, if there are limited opportunities created for people to cut through, if you minimize how many opportunities there are, but those seats are then full, it's like, oh, you know, you can't come through, which is ludicrous, because, you know, for us, we've got so much talent coming out of the UK, so much talent amongst our, you know, young Black female artists, and it would be a shame to think that, you know, we are being told to make choices between, you know, who can come through and who can't. I'm just going to give you a little example. When I was thinking about this topic, because I couldn't really think about UK specific examples or maybe my own experience, but I think one that kind of slaps you in the face, I would say personally, is Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion. And I would say that she she definitely has faced misogynoir, because as a woman, she can stand up and say, this person has done something to me. And the response to that is basically like, shut up. And would that be the case if it was another person that had been assaulted by him? You know, would the industry have taken it seriously, or would they have shut that person down so violently as they have done with Megan, for example? I'm going to move on just to...
Your sound.
It said the host muted me. Who is the host?
Not me.
Sorry,
it wasn't
guys.
me.
Where did I cut off? Well, I'm basically saying that I'm just going to move on to the second point, just off of that topic, as we kind of move into career progression. And I guess when and from my own experience, and when I speak to Black women across the industry, there already seems to be limited opportunities and space for women as a whole. So then when you then look at space for Black women in the industry, that of course is then significantly less. And I think that there has, especially since the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement, that was prevalent in the UK, because Black Lives Matter has been around since, you know, 2010 or 2012, that it then began to shine a spotlight on just the gaping holes that exist across our industry as a whole. Women in Control have done some great work in kind of exposing the gender bias and pay gaps. I think they just released some statistics in the last couple of days, kind of just showing the disparity of pay between men and women across the music industry. And generally it still feels like there is an uphill battle, but because of what we have now moved through Black Lives Matter and having some awareness shone on, I guess, the situation at hand, is that there seems to be some more opportunities opening up for us. You're seeing hires across the board, people are being added at C-suite level, you know, which is great. But actually, in talking to the three people that we have here, you guys all run your own businesses. Although you might have worked in corporates, you know, have kind of come out of the system and are doing your own thing. So it'll be interesting to kind of get your perspective on how you have overcome challenges within your own career. I'm going to ask Shawnee this question.
To be honest, it's because I couldn't take all the nonsense in the corporate space. And I was tired of being overlooked. In the department I was in, I was, I think, one of 3 Black people. I was the only young Black woman, and there was an older Black woman that had been there for like decades. And it was just a lot. Everything I went through there, all the little microaggressions, I was tired. And then, you know, there was one sort of big thing related to race as to why I just left. And I said, you know, this is the last corporate job I have. I know what I want to do. I'm on this mission. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And fortunately enough, you know, I've done well and haven't had to go back into the corporate workplace. And I always said, the only way I'd go back, I remember I said to myself, and funny enough, I went into a job interview not too long afterwards, and I asked them, I said, how many Black women are there on your team? How many Black people are on your team? And there was just a couple. I said, out of how many? And it was just, I was like, yeah, do you know what? Like, honestly, this isn't for me. Because I said, I'm not stepping into a space again unless there's some diversity. And I just saw it as, this is God saying, you're on the right path, just keep doing what you're doing. And thankfully enough, within a year, it sort of turned around. But, you know, in terms of how I overcame challenges, I think that was it. Like, I just went off and did my own thing, you know. And that's what I'd say to everyone. If you're unhappy where you are, figure out how you can do this for yourself and how you can build a business. doing whatever it is that you do within that corporate space. Because one thing I'm sure we'd all agree is that with the assets, you know,
Definitely.
like women, yeah, definitely. Like when the artists come in, they like to see someone that's relatable. They like someone that knows them, knows their story. Like, you know, I'm from Northwest too, you know, inner city London. So a lot of the young rappers, like, they really relate to me. So I was able to sort of pick up talent and pick up artists because, you know, like, they call me Big Sis or whatever. I'm just one of them. I can tolerate hearing things that, you know, a lot of people wouldn't. You know, one of the first things I always ask, is there anything I need to know? And then they'll be very, very open with me about, you know, whatever it is they have going on. There was one guy and he was like, well, I've got a case and I'm going to court tomorrow. And I was like, what is it and how long are you looking at? He was home within the year and I still stayed in touch, you know. So that's what I would say to all of us. Like, we are definitely the assets. I think Black women, everywhere we go, we are special. All the men I find is the sort of, you know, soft touches that I have with everything, and the fact that, yeah, you know, everything we do is sort of bespoke. I would say we really, really understand the clients, especially if we're in an urban space. You know, we don't have to put up with it anymore. I said, never again, even if I went into the corporate space, I'm not being quiet. All this Meghan Markle thing has been so triggering, and I'm like, you know what, there's certain things I just wish I called out. I did. A lot of the time I blew up, but, you know, I wish I'd called it out every single step of the way, because how she's feeling right now is proof what happens when you just stay quiet, you know.
Absolutely, completely agree with you. And Nikki, you also, I think, kind of just reading up about your journey through music, you have been a lawyer previously, you've got your own management company, your own consultancy, just through like the different iterations of your career, like how have you kind of overcome challenges?
Similarly to Shawnee, I felt like I was being kind of held down in my previous career as a lawyer, and I struggled to, despite having like great grades, you know, like I struggled to get a training contract, which, if anyone knows how the legal world works, like after you've done your law degree, you do the LPC, which is another diploma, then you do like a 2-year training contract, and the training contract has to be in-house at a firm. But, you know, similar thing, there's kind of like a lot of nepotism, and my name didn't put me in the best position. You know, my full name's Adenike Durasari. You can tell, like, I'm not white British, do you know what I mean? So I feel like that held me back in terms of being able to land the kind of training contract that I wanted to secure. I was interested in doing media and entertainment law, didn't get a foot in there. And then, just like Shawnee, I think my mentality was, well, I don't actually want to be in an environment where I'm kind of I can be overlooked, and my all that I have to offer is not used. And I, you know, so I decided, okay, well, I'm just going to do my own thing. And at the same time as I qualified to be a lawyer is when I started kind of working with Shaka, and I felt just much more control and freedom in that arena. You know, it's got its own kind of, you know, issues, but there's just something kind of liberating about going into meetings and being and having, and the conversations being transactional, and kind of we're both on an equal level. You know, do we want to go into business together? You know, do we want you to be Shaka's distribution partner? Do we want you to be Shaka's booking agent? As opposed to kind of someone kind of deciding whether or not you're good enough for something, you know, and then having their biases cloud and influence their decision, and then that making you feel inadequate. That was like a really painful dynamic that I was experiencing, you know, in the corporate world. So yes, that's kind of what led me to go into the music industry. I'd always been passionate about music before. In previous life, I MC'd. I was like proper into music. So yeah, I was just super passionate about music, and then that relationship developed, and, you know, we started working together. And yeah, it's just been really, in terms of overcoming challenges, I feel like my family have been an incredible support system when I've like felt deflated, and, you know, like, you know, you're putting in all this work and certain things aren't panning out how you want them to pan out. They've kind of highlighted just how far, you know, I've come along this journey, and just, you know, made me take stock of what I have achieved, and that spurred me on to keep pushing. And I just feel like, yeah, when you're in the music industry, especially as a manager, you're able to kind of own the victories. So yeah, as much as it's very much up and down, when there is when there is success, you can kind of be like, I look at Shaq, I'm like, we did this, you know, and it's really, really gratifying. And yeah, I just feel really blessed to have had this journey. You know, I've got like at home, you know, like 3 platinum plaques, a silver plaque, you know, things that I can look at and tangibly say I was in the music industry and I actually did something, you know. So yeah.
That's dope. And Shikayla, same question to you.
So I kind of touched on it earlier, which was like the same as okay, which was like, you know, changing the name. I obviously you know yourself where I came to you. Could you help me with your CV? Could you help me with my CV? I applied for jobs within the music industry, probably over 100. No one was getting back to me, and I just thought, you know what? I'm doing it anyway. So let me just actually hone in on the skills that I have and start my own thing. And actually, as you mentioned earlier, the movement of like Black Lives Matter and stuff within the music industry kind of highlighted the different avenues that you can go down to get funding, because my problem was not having that money. And I was like, so how am I going to do this if I've got no money? I'm trying, and it's so difficult because it's like, you also get that question when you're an artist manager, even if you're starting, you get into an interview, so how are you going to do both? And it's like, well, there's so many Black males or white males, or yeah, in the music industry that are managers and A&Rs, or managers and work within a label. So why are you asking me that question? And I just kind of I was tired of it. So I was like, okay, cool, you don't want me, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to start my own radio show so that you can see, look, I've already got these connections. It's been going for like 6 months. We've had some of the top UK R&B artists in already, and it's still growing. Like I said earlier, I've joined the accelerator program. I'm still applying for other grants or other talking to people about funding, and just doing it myself, because sometimes you can't look to other people to help you. You can't look to other people to you know, build your life for you. And for myself, I've just stayed strong in faith. So if you believe in God, if you believe in the universe, just know that whatever is destined for you will come, and stick on that path. If you need to pray about, if you need to talk to someone, and just realize that whatever's destined for you will happen at some point. I've had the lowest of lows. I battled with depression, I battled with anxiety, and I'm not ashamed. And I'm here, I'm on the panel talking to other people that may want to get into management at some point. What I will say to everyone that's going on their journey to figure out what they want to do, reach out to whoever you can. Some people may air you, because that's just how life is, but you might get an answer from the person that you need to. Like I said, that's been you, and it's been other women within the music industry, and males. Like Sam, who I work with, has been such a huge help introducing me to people and telling me about opportunities too. So as much as you might get no's, you'll also get yeses too. So just stick at it.
I'm just going to apologise for my front door going off. I don't know who was knocking, but we'll swerve that one. I think just touching on something that you just said, actually, in that, is that what I think I have seen as like the consistent pattern is Black women, but also women, just across the board, are having to establish themselves as like multi-hyphenates. So actually pursuing their various passions, setting up various businesses, and also, I guess, walking forward in the essence that they can do it all, really. I think one of my experiences within corporate was that I wanted to have my full-time job and as a kind of side project do something else that I was interested in that was non-conflicting, and I was told that I couldn't. And I was like, okay, well then, you know what, I would rather have my freedom and be able to kind of pick and choose the things that I'm interested and passionate about than be one thing to one person or one organization. So that kind of touches on what you're saying about, you know, you're in management, but you're interested in music, you're passionate about that, so therefore you can have a radio show and really just hone all of your skills. The next question I wanted to ask, and actually I guess for both of the managers that are on this call, you have had experience with being part of their MMF Accelerator Fund, so your answer should be yes. But I'll just throw to Nikkei and ask you, do you feel like there is support within the music industry? And if so, could you just specify like who, if there are particular people, or what, if that is organisations?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's improved a great deal over the last 5 years. I think over the last year, obviously, loads of things have sprung up following the BLM movement. But even before that, I think there was just a general acknowledgement of a gap, you know, in terms of support that was needed. As you said, I was on the MMF Accelerator program in 2019. I was really blessed to have landed that spot on there. I learned a great deal, was supported for a whole year. It gave us the space to kind of take a step back and think about our own development as managers, because just by the very nature of being a manager, it's all about kind of giving and pouring out to your, you know, your clients. And so there was kind of this focus on us kind of thinking about what about your development and what about your plans going forwards. And so yeah, it was really, really helpful. Paul Bonham, who I think is on the call, is, you know, an incredible man and just a lovely human being, and who's extremely supportive to all of us on the course. Also, there are some other initiatives as well that I just wanted to mention. Blushing. The debrief, Shah Grant and Afriye and Kamali have put that together, and I think it's a bit, for anyone who doesn't know, it's a space for Black women in the music industry, and I think that was also really a needed initiative. I've been to one of their events before. It was really great, very inspiring. Just, I guess for me as well, shocking, and a reminder that there are loads of us in this space. You know, when I first started out, I remember just thinking, you know, I felt super, not only having come from kind of feeling ostracized and not part of the legal world, the community there, because I'm not, you know, a white male from, you know, who's gone to Eton. When I came into the music industry, I still felt quite alone, and because I didn't see a lot of us, you know, so I just felt like, okay, well, I'm here by myself holding the fort. I've got to, you know, just, you know, power through. And as the years went on, I've had the pleasure of meeting loads of Black women, and it's been really, really inspiring. The debrief is a perfect example of that. There's loads of us, we're all doing incredible things, and yeah, it's a great initiative. Also, the Black Music Coalition, which is Shah Grant and Afriye, and I don't know all the people that are involved, but in response to the BLM movement last year, they set that up to kind of hold the industry to account and kind of ask some questions about why they're not more Black executives, etc. And then Power Up, which is Ben Winter's initiative that's launched recently. That's a really great one. Again, to support Black executives coming up. It's providing training as well as funding. So yeah, I think there are now definitely quite a few things available. 5 years ago there wasn't, so it's great to see.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Shawnee, I think you're someone whose name I often see on like panels or talks. I think you definitely make it your mission to educate people. So kind of what sources are there for knowledge or help or guidance for people that you've come across?
Well, do you know, when I actually started up, there wasn't really too much. I made a point of going to every sort of seminar I could find. Like, if I met Kwame, I went to the Ultimate seminar like a few years back. But now I think you're part of it too, Whitney, ditto. They've launched an initiative as well, which is really, really cool. Most of the stuff I learned is all online. Like I always say, we're in a like digital era. There's all kinds of information, especially on publishing and royalties. One thing I get told I'm really good at is just like explaining it to people like they're 5 years old, and I think that's sort of how I've done well. And I don't even know what sort of kicked it off. Like I get asked to do panels all the time. For the most part, I try and say yes and speak about this all the time. But PRS, they do a lot of educational events. So do PPL. I've actually really been on all the A&Rs I know personally. When they're telling me they've got a new sign, I was like, have you told them what they're entitled to outside of your deal? You know,
Right.
like I'm really good friends with the guys at Dream Life, Lunatic, and I'm like, yeah, I know you've got your eye on him, but have you told him he needs to register for PBL, like as a performer, blah, 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 blah. So I do think there's still like this massive knowledge gap. And I think in my world, in royalties and publishing, it's going to take a really, really long time to fill. I'm going to do my absolute best. Like I was talking to someone in Jamaica today, you know, speaking to JCAP. I'm sort of everywhere, trying to educate everyone, but it's going to take more than just me. Oh, Paul saying Ditto's new industry access project. Yeah, that's the thing I was talking about. Yeah, I think there's still a long way to go, but you know, well, I guess that's going into the next question, but when we're talking about legacy, like that's sort of what I want to be known for, because I bought a lot of people, like there was a rapper really funny the other day said, you know, when Shawnee sends you a DM, it's because you got money coming to you, so I was so happy to see your name in my inbox, because I DM a lot of them, and because PPL will tell me like they might be struggling to get in touch with someone. Usually it's a rapper or someone within my world that I'll know, so just send a DM or I'll make a phone call, get their number, and I'll say there's actually some money sitting here for you, or I'll kind of just know they might not be registered because I'm trying to do registrations, and I'll just hit them up like, you really need to do this ASAP. And yeah, so for the most part, I think there's a long way to go, but I'm starting to see it now. I'm hoping that I start inspiring a lot more people in publishing to do more talks, to hold more events. I've actually got a few coming up where I'm doing like little workshop days and everything. When the outside fully opens, like, I can't wait to do them in person. But I think slowly there are a lot more things out there that's going to be educating people on publishing and royalties.
I was just going to jump back in, because how can we miss Kwame, who's on the call?
Yeah, Ultimate Seminar, that's why, because that was the first thing. Yeah, we have to big up Kwame all the time.
Exactly. Ultimate Seminar, for anyone who doesn't know, happens every November. And yeah, just incredible panelists. And yeah, that is definitely an event that inspired me and made me feel like I can, do you know what I mean? I can push through and kind of achieve success, because you see people from all walks of life, you know, all different ages, all different races. It's very, very, very inspiring. So, you're welcome, Kwame.
And Shikayla, can you just let us know about, from your experience, if you think that there's support in the industry? You're probably going to say yes, and name us, you know, some people or organisations that haven't been mentioned that maybe we can share with the people on the call.
Yeah, I think I've started to notice, as I said earlier, a lot more, that there's a lot more available than I actually thought. When I first started but when just before I went to uni, the person that I started working with was Carla Marie, and she came up with the idea of Girls Irate while I was working with her. So it's crazy to see where it's gone now. And I believe they've been doing a lot as well for females within the music industry. I was going to say the Power Up Foundation is looking good. I haven't seen yet what they're about to do, but the thought and the idea behind it seems like it's going to be amazing. The Accelerator program has been fantastic. I've only been on it for a couple of weeks, but I've learned so much, and I would advise anyone that is a music manager and thinks that they need to, you know, some advice on how to progress, or would even be great input into something like that, to, you know, join the MMF, because even if you don't get onto that that course, being part of the MMF, you're always given insights into different parts of the industry anyway. So it's a great platform. I think I only signed up to them probably about 2 years ago, and I was like, wow, why haven't I known about this? And there's so many women in control with Nadia. She's been great. Like, she gave us some great ideas and tips and stuff.
She's been great at giving knowledge as well. Like I said earlier in the call, just I don't even know where she gets the information from, whether it's like in the public domain or not. But even just looking at just the way the information is presented about, you know, like I said, you know, pay gaps, or, you know, the assets that she created to show the lack of women and representation on boards is definitely, you know, made people wake up pretty quickly and make those changes.
It's been great. And I just think as well, the women that you have around you, your friends, your team. Rebecca's been amazing for me. We push each other. I'm her manager, but she always pushes me as well to go harder where I need to. She's like, you know, you're starting to build yourself a brand, so you need to start uploading some pictures on your Insta. I'm like, all right, love. That's what I was telling you. So it's just like having strong women around you, and males. Like, I don't even want to say, do you know what, forget the men. There are definitely men that are championing women within the industry as well, so we can never forget about them. And I have a great family as well that continue to push me, and they're like, don't give up, you've come so far. I think Nikkei said the same thing earlier. It's like, your family, sometimes we're so hard on ourselves because we might not always get the props that we need, especially as a manager, or we might not be invited onto the panels, or we might not be in certain magazine spreads, so we think that we're not being noticed, but we are. And it's the people closest to you that will tell you, oh, actually, last year you were here and now you're doing this, so why do you think you're not doing anything? So yeah, I think everyone as a team, the people that you surround yourself with will push you as far as you need to go.
Yeah. And I guess bringing that back to the Black experience, I think a lot of Black women often feel unsupported in their roles. So it's great to know that, you know, the three of you have got some amazing examples of where you can point people towards, you know, to get that kind of knowledge. Advice like, you know, just looking within your network, asking people for help. But actually, there are now more programs. When I first started, I can't really think of programs. Well, I went to Brit School, so I was already kind of like versed in understanding what the career opportunities might be when I left there and went on to further my career. But that was quite a unique experience. And actually, I had to really go and seek that out and figure out what I could do, you know, with my interest in music. You know, I didn't know about grants and scholarships. And there's lots more of that that's available now. Someone just put in the chat that the deadline for the Power Up application, well, the information's in there. So definitely go and check that out, because that's available for not only executives, but for artists as well. And I think that we'll be pulling together some resources for people to go and find all the appropriate links and sites, etc. So moving on to legacy building, I think each of you are building fantastic legacies. So question for, I mean, I might start with Shawnee actually, because you did start to touch on legacy. What does your legacy mean to you, and what is it that you're trying to build and create?
Well, like, my mission overall is just like to hopefully educate as many people as I possibly can on like sort of royalties and publishing. And there's this, like, you know, if I was going to go into it, we'd go down a rabbit hole. But there's like this copyright issue all over the world, and like I was speaking to like a label based in the UAE, and all their top 10 artists, nobody's registered with their PROs, and I deal with Jamaican artists a lot, and rappers here that have songs in the charts and playing heavily on the radio, and they don't know nothing about PRS. So, you know, that's sort of my legacy, to try and like do my best to tackle this major copyright issue, and what that means to me. I guess that's pretty much my life, because I put my life into it. So, and then also I do want to inspire, because there are a lot of other sort of like there's a great company I work with that manage loads of producers, and I was like, you guys should definitely be thinking about going into publishing and starting your own publishing company. And I did an interview with PRS the other day, and I was the only Black woman that had their own publishing business, and I just want to see more people that look like me in this world. There are some great ones though at companies, but I want to see more that own their own companies, because I always say, if you're putting sessions together and you're doing registrations, that's publishing. So I definitely, and you know, because somebody even said to me, but aren't you worried that someone's going to come along, then they'll be your competitor? And I was like, no, because like, I just want to see us all win, and all on this side of the business. And you know, there's even you know, a group of really brilliant guys, and I'm helping them establish themselves as publishers, and we have an agreement between ourselves that, you know, I'll self-publish or something. And there's quite a few people that I'm doing that with, and I think that's what I want my legacy to be, to sort of revolutionize this side of the business. Because from when I see like the Sister Nancy What a Bam Bam story, and she didn't get royalties for 34 years, I just keep seeing it. And especially with black artists, I watched that show on Netflix with the guy that wrote the Lion King song, and he didn't receive anything. He got like a settlement after he passed away that went to his kids. And I just keep seeing it time and time again. It always upsets me. So maybe it's just like to maybe make the publishing world a bit more innovative in terms of what it looks like just a lot more diverse, make sure everyone across the industry is a lot more knowledgeable, especially when these sort of young black artists come in, make sure the labels are actively educating the artists too. I think that's what I want my legacy to be.
So just question quickly on what you've just said. Whose responsibility do you think it is? Or I know actually responsibility should be shared, but where do you think, at what point do you think artists should be learning that information? Who do you think should be telling them?
I always say it's your career, you know, to the artist, you know, because I had an artist who's like, but my manager was meant to do it for me. No, but it's your money. It's not your manager's money. It's your responsibility. You should know this. And I had a manager that said, oh, well, we got you, Shawnee, so why do we need to know all of this? No, like, you all need to know this. So even when we take on a client, whether we're consulting or we, especially when we sign, we do a presentation. We'll go down to the office. Like, there's a lot of management companies, or like Mixtape Madness I work with, and we went down and we did training days for the whole team to teach them all about this. So I say, when you're the writer or you're the composer, it's your responsibility, and it's something I think it's probably one of the most important things to know about.
I completely agree with you, and I think just to that point, if you are the artist or the songwriter, your team might change. So you shouldn't actually leave those things in people's hands. You might change management, you could change publisher, you could change hands multiple times. And if you're constantly relying on the others to have that information for you or to act in your best interest, you'd be doing yourself a disservice for sure. Shikayla, what does legacy mean to you? What is it that you're trying to build?
I think for me, I'm definitely trying to expand on my radio show and as a manager. But also what is very, very important to me is, and I've noticed during my time in management, is mental health of artists, and especially the artists, black artists within the music industry. I think the music industry thrives off the trauma of black people, the crime, them going to jail and things like that. And I don't think there's a strong enough infrastructure for these artists and executives within the music industry, because we also go through a lot. My mum comes from a psychology background, and I have friends in it as well. So I would love to, you know, start to build something that will be put into place in all the labels, so that when artists are signed, they also have that behind them, that if they need to go and speak to someone, if executives are struggling within their jobs and their workloads, there are people that they can go to within those companies. And that is an idea that I've had, and I want to start to build on, as well as my management and my radio show, because I don't work for anyone right now. So, you know, it's time to, you know, go wherever suits me and do what I'm interested in.
Amazing. And Nikkei, legacy and you, what are you building? What does that mean to you?
To be honest, I haven't thought of it in such clear terms as Shawnee and Shikayla. But what I would say is that I am conscious of being visible, just because, as I said, when I was coming up, there wasn't anyone visible for me. I couldn't see, you know, could I be a manager being black? Could I be a manager being female? I couldn't see anyone. And so I feel like being visible, even just being a mum, you know, and managing, like when I fell pregnant with my son, I had people, you know, I heard Shaka fed back to me that people were in his ear saying, oh, that's it, you know, like writing me off basically, like, that's it, you can't do anything else now, and that's your career gone, and all this kind of stuff, and being quite negative. And I I'm glad that I've been able to kind of, and not to say it's all about kind of, you know, proving other people wrong or anything like that, but just more expanding people's minds about the fact that, you know, you shouldn't kind of make judgments about the capacity of other people and women. And we are extremely tenacious. We multitask in our sleep. That's what we do, you know. And I just feel like, yeah, to me, being a successful manager and getting to where I've got right now and still pushing is my legacy. Yeah, I feel that that's and also, yeah, in terms of the education, what I do on my Instagram and giving the insights, again, I guess I'm just naturally gravitating towards things that I felt I wish was there when I was coming through. Like, I saw someone say something like the publishing industry likes to be secret. I feel like that's the case for the whole music industry. Right. People thrive off the fact that, oh, I know this and you don't know it, and you know, and it's like, and they use that, you know, to manipulate and to pull the wool over people's eyes. And I just feel that it's, in the information age, you know, everything's available now. That's one kind of part of the commercial world, which is still kind of relatively hidden. And that's why I just felt like it was really important to shine a light on it, you know. And I just think people also kind of have these wild misconceptions about how much money is or isn't in the music industry. And I just felt it was really useful to kind of just help steer those ideas that people have and stuff. So I've been posting every week on my Instagram just to kind of, you know, give insights, and people found it really helpful. And I've also been speaking, just like Shawnee, when I get the opportunity, to people to kind of educate. And Kwame's actually recommended me to lecture at a uni, and I did that on Monday for the first time, which was like really daunting, but I enjoyed it. And yeah, I just felt like it dawned on me then as well, delivering that first lecture, that, you know, when I was at uni, if I had seen someone again who looked like me, or even just, you know, just not the stereotype, just someone who just wasn't necessarily a white male that was like 60 years old, you know, just shake it up a little bit, it would have been quite inspiring. And so I was glad to be that person for that generation of students that I was talking to. So I guess to me, that's my legacy, just being a visible person doing it and pushing through what other people might perceive as impermeable hurdles or boundaries.
There's actually a common thread, like from what each of you guys have said, and it's about helping people. It's about creating like a even and level playing field, which I think is like really symptomatic of like the nature of women. And this is why we're essential in business. And for often I see that like we are the backbone of teams. We might not always be pushed or propelled into leadership, but we really do serve the team and deliver them to points of success. So it's about us really kind of standing in our light. Well, I guess amongst the three that we have here, you guys are running your own businesses anyway, but definitely for those in the corporate structure, definitely like stand up for yourself and know your value and know your worth. So for all of the challenges that you guys have faced throughout your careers, if you could talk to 18-year-old self or 16-year-old self, what advice would you be giving yourself back then? Shikayla's laughing, so I'm going to go across to her. Go on. It's going to be not to change your name on your CV.
Exactly. Don't change your name on your CV. Be who you want to be, because in the future you're going to be a boss. Don't worry about. I dropped out of college and I still ended up in uni. So don't do that. By the way, get your education. But I would say to myself, stop trying to impress others, because you are impressive yourself. So whatever happens, your light will shine. And you know, that's what I would say. And don't be scared to approach people.
Yeah, definitely that one's valuable as well, because I think that we always think people are unattainable or inaccessible because we think they're successful. But when I was 15 and from Essex, I found Jackie Davidson's name. Did we have the internet then? We must have. Either way, I had no relationship to Jackie Davidson, and I emailed her and I asked her if I could do a placement with her, and she said yes. And she was actually my first experience in music. And so that, you know, that's not a case of nepotism. I've never crossed paths with her. I literally just reached out to her, and she gave me her time. So definitely doing that is super important. Shawnee, what would you say to younger self interested in music and wanted to break in?
Oh God! Well, at 18, I knew nothing about the music industry, and I was a very reckless person. I didn't finish school or anything. I went straight into work in retail for years, but I knew I always wanted to be in sort of this sort of world. I knew I wanted to be in entertainment, but it was that lack of representation, not seeing any Black women at all. Like, as in, you know, there was a few, but it was mainly American execs that I knew about, but I didn't see any British people, you know. And so I think the advice I'd give to myself, probably just not to put so much pressure on myself, because I knew I wanted to be within this realm, but I didn't think it was going to happen at all. So I think that led to like a lot of early poor choices, because I wasn't focused. So it'd definitely be to, you know, explore options more and to focus. That's what I think, and not put pressure on myself when things aren't going to plan. Because I remember I was in a really bad space when I was at that age, because I just felt like I was wasting away working in retail. I knew I wanted to be something, but didn't see anyone doing it. So I thought that's never going to happen, you know. So it'd definitely be to like just maybe look more into this and focus. That's what I think.
Can I ask you a question then, just quickly? Because I don't know if you touched on it when you introduced yourself. How did you get into music? What was your access point?
I was actually on the other side of the industry. Like, that's how I knew Nikki. I was hosting all the parties and stuff for artists and doing press days and things. And then after I had my son, PRS was because I wanted to stay in music. I already had quite a decent career, but PRS was the only company that would allow me to work during his nursery hours. So that was because it was 9 to 5. Everything else was like 9 till 6 or later, or I think they just like, I felt like, do you know, it would be too much pressure being a mum and having to work late. So completely thought, I'll just take this job. And then when I learned all about PRS, I was like, I've been in the music industry for a little while and I know nothing about this. And then I knew so many artists and stuff. And then they would say, oh, can you check on my account? Or and then it just like a light bulb moment happened, and heard about the Sister Nancy thing that inspired me. When I saw Paulette Long, that's when I was like, that is what I want to do. She teaches people about music and like, she's just killing it. She's a Black woman, and the rest is history. Here I am.
Amazing. Yeah. And Nikki, how about you? Looking back and giving yourself advice about your path, your route, what would you say?
I think I would tell myself that you have much more power than you think you have, and much more skills than you think you have. I think a lot of the time we do things naturally and don't put we don't realize that it's the same thing that other people are doing, just with a label on it. So like similar to Shawnee, I was promoting gigs from 20 years old, you know. So it's like, I've been a promoter, I've been an event organizer, I've been an artist. As I said, I used to, you know, MC way back in the day. I've had so many different lives in a way, you know, and also just, I've had my ear to the ground in terms of music from a really, really young age, and I didn't place value on that. I just kind of felt like, well, but I'm not connected to the right people, and, you know, and unless they say I've got, you know, this talent or whatever, then it's not, you know, it's not official, you know. And I just feel like, looking back, I would have kind of just more focused on where can I add value, because I think if you just add value, you know, whether it's like nowadays, it's kind of a bit more obvious, you know, you can create a podcast, you can have a Instagram account and add value that way, you can have a YouTube channel, add value that way, you can organize events. But if you just add value, then the opportunities that you're seeking will come. But I think back in the day, due to, as I said, like the whole music industry being shrouded in mystery, and if you're Black and female, like, and from, you know, inner city, you're not necessarily connected to the right people, you feel very on the outside, and you don't recognize that the power that you actually have. So I think that's what I would say to myself. You've got a lot of power, you know, do your thing and focus on adding value, and everything will come to you.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's amazing. Shikayla, you got your hand up?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, go on.
On adding value, I went through the same kind of thing. When I left school, I was working in retail. I was working in Selfridges, and it was just like, a girl came up to me and she was like, yeah, I'm a rapper and I really like need help. So I was like, okay, I'll help you. And she was the worst rapper I've heard in my life. I'm absolutely not gonna lie. It was wild to me. But she knew amazing people, and one of the guys that she knew, I set up a whole photo shoot, and it was great, I must say. I don't know how I did it. I pulled in my friends as models, and one of the guys that knew her was like, if you're going to do this for her, then you might as well come and work for me. And at the time, he was managing Waka Flocka for the UK. And that's where I started. And I was like, this is what I want to do. He moved to LA and started working with Janae Aiko. And I was stuck, and I was like, well, what do I want to do? And someone told me, well, there's a course in music management, and that's how I got into it. But during university, I still was reaching out to whoever I could to be like, okay, can I work with you? Let me try and, you want to be an artist? Let me help you. All the guys from like Northwest, rappers, I was like, oh, I know him, he's a rapper, can I help you? Let me see if I can get you onto like a crib session. And that's where I started. It was like, because it's easier than a lot of people think, like, especially with social media, especially with things like LinkedIn. Honestly, Google someone's name, go in LinkedIn, Google their company, find out the email format. Like, that's what I did. And I just reached out to whoever would. Some people said yes and some people no. Yeah. But I started to build a name for myself from that.
Dope. Thank you. I think we've come to the point in the where we're actually going to open up the floor for questions or conversation. I've seen like a lot in the chat already. Let's just open up and see if we can give people the opportunity to speak directly to the panel. How will I do this? Is Mahalia here still? Oh.
Yes, I am.
Okay, what's the best way for me to pull up these questions? If anyone has any questions, can you add them into the chat and then we can maybe call some out?
Yeah, I'm happy to read them to you.
Thank you. I'm trying to see some too. Right, guys, so just put any questions you might have for any of the women in the chat and we can read them out for you.
Tisha29 says, if anyone knows of any opportunities or platforms, please do share for those of us that want to break into the music industry. She has previous experience as a relationship manager in the hospitality, and she writes songs in her spare time.
I'll just really quickly add, just before anyone else does, that there's, I think, actually Nikkei listed quite a few people or places that do shed some light on opportunities, but Social Fix as well is one that often shares. I don't really know what opportunity you're looking for, but if you're looking for jobs within the industry, Social Fix is someone that often posts not only entry-level jobs across the industry, but various positions whenever they come available. So maybe that is a platform for you to follow to see if there are any opportunities that might call out to you. Music Week might be one where you can find jobs, etc. Anyone else, guys?
Just typing in the thing, Music Business Worldwide, PRS Foundation, yeah. Those are the ones I can think of.
Mm-hmm.
So Kwame asked, what's the worst and best musical experience?
All right, well, Shikayla's laughing, so go on.
No, I think definitely pushing that artist that I just thought, oh my God, you're really, really bad. Like, I would suggest for every manager before you start, or even anyone trying to get on into the music industry, before you actually say yes, listen to the music, no matter how hungry you are, because you need to have a passion about what you're going to do before you actually start doing it. So make sure you build that relationship, because although it did end up being a positive for me, it was something that I just was like, what the hell have I got myself into? And one of my best moments. I think just being part of the All Me Part 2, the concept for the video, like seeing these females come together, like the vibe and the support that went behind it. I think All Me Part 2, if you haven't listened to it, it's by Rebecca Garton, Tia Karis, Alana Maria, and Ling Hustle. And it's like, yeah, female unity song. So that was great. I loved working on that.
And we definitely need more of that, for sure. Lots of link ups and collaborations between our artists so that they can, you know, we can show that there's opportunity for all and that they all kind of are in support of each other and not against each other. I've put the chat in everyone's way, so I can't see if anyone else wants to speak. No, okay, I'm just going to go back. Are there any more questions?
Amy asked, how have you navigated during COVID times in terms of collaborating, keeping clients focused and networking?
Shall I throw it to someone? Shawnee? Do you want to hear the question again?
Yeah, no, I navigated during COVID times. You know, if I'm totally honest, it's when everything really exploded for me. That was during COVID, during Corona. I mean, I keep saying I've never ever been this busy because really I only started this in 2019. So like having my own business is just, well, I had it prior, but I just didn't make any money. So I had a job. But everything exploded for me during COVID. But I think that's because there's no live. So you know, there was one artist that I was on him about sorting out his accounts, but he was touring. Obviously, all of that shut down that summer. And he said I was one of the first person he called. And I said, oh, because now you're paying attention to your publishing and your PPL and stuff because you're missing that income. So funny enough, things have just exploded, I guess, just because now everyone's like thinking about all the extra income because they've missed out on so much. So it's actually been all right. I mean, we've only just been back, like putting sessions together as of the past few months, but that's been the most tricky thing because COVID rules, stuff like that. And then, you know, I even got COVID at one stage, that was gross. So everything, it was like quite difficult for the face-to-face stuff, but it's actually been, like, business has exploded. So I think I've been really fortunate, touch wood, you know.
Nikkei, yeah, oh, sorry, go on. Shikayla, go on. Go for it.
Yeah, I think during this time, someone was asking about networking. And I believe because everyone is at home, they have a bit more time. So just reach out to whoever you can. As much as businesses exploded for quite a lot of us, some of our business has been affected. So we're not out traveling. We're not like in a different country or don't have time to meet up. We can just do an hour Zoom without having to travel or just a quick phone call to run through things. And it's been great for me to just kind of put ideas into people's head or talk to people or even give people advice about certain things. It's actually been better for that. Live has affected money. Sessions can kind of be done if your artist has got a home studio, so collabs are not as hard as we thought. We've just had to kind of adjust during the time and make things work the way that they could.
Yeah, definitely. Nikkei?
Yeah, I would agree with both Shawnee and Shikayla. We've had like, well, on the pop plus side, we've had one song, a catalogue song, explode just because of the lyrics fitted with lockdowns. It's a song called When Will I See You Again? And it's gone like crazy on TikTok, 150,000 organically generated videos driving like 6 million streams. So that's been a blessing. And it's taken the pressure off a bit because of the lost revenue from live. And because I've got my son, he's just turned 2, it's been a blessing not to have to travel an hour and sometimes on the way to the meeting, have someone cancel the meeting, which happens a lot in the music industry. So I've been able to do more with my day, I would say. But it has been, yeah, just uncertain for everyone, isn't it? You just like, what, you know, when will we go back to some sort of semblance of normality and be able to do live shows, which, you know, for Shaka is a huge part of his income and a huge way in which he connects with fans and brings his songs alive and kind of, you know, So yeah, it's been, I think we've kind of just a bit been kind to ourselves, especially last summer, and then kind of focused more towards the end of last summer and thought, okay, like we now know that it's not the end of the world, because it felt like an apocalypse initially, didn't it? So it's like, okay, it's not the end of the world. What we, how do we navigate and kind of make plans that don't rely on face-to-face interactions and try and progress your career that way? So yeah, that's how we've survived and navigated.
Got it. I can't see the chat still. Are there any additional questions?
There's one more question from Paul. Do you think there are still defined spaces where Black women can work, e.g. limited to genres, roles? If so, how can that improve?
Interesting. I'll just really, I believe in what I'm saying, but there's also examples that are to the contrary. But I think within labels specifically, I feel like women are pushed towards marketing and men are pushed towards A&R. Now, as I say that, I can think of some brilliant women A&Rs, but I'm saying that they are the anomaly within their teams. And so that, to me, is an area that I think continues to need growth, and educating young Black women who are interested in music that they don't have to be in admin or marketing roles. They can be involved in the creation of music too. That's my take on it. Anyone else?
I was going to say the same. There are a couple of female A&Rs that I know of, but most of the people are in marketing, and I just don't really see. It's crazy because the genres that we work in, which are like urban, that's the only place that I really see Black females, which is quite sad. But I don't know, it's maybe because I'm not linked into those other places, but I haven't seen anyone that's like in pop and Black, or a Black executive that's working in pop or country, or I haven't seen it, but that might just be because I'm not there.
Oh yeah, Radha, actually. I see that too. Yeah, brilliant example. She's achieved amazing things with Mabel and now Mahalia. But yeah, so yeah, someone's saying there's a couple, but that's the point, isn't it? It's like it's in such small numbers that you can actually call them out. Whereas I couldn't possibly have the time to kind of go through and list all the names of men that I know occupy those spaces, because it is the norm, right? Nikki, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think touring as well in the live space is definitely lacking in terms of representation. As you were just saying just now, I can mention one. I'm a friend of mine, Nisi, who is tour manager for Koji Radical and Little Sims, but it's definitely a male-dominated space. But we have women are perfectly suited to that role as well. Like it's just literally, multitasking and project managing and having an understanding of all the technical aspects of setting up a live show. And yeah, it would be good to see more Black women in that space.
Shawnee, did you want to add something, or shall we move on to the next question?
Yeah, I think I would like to see more Black women at the top level, like as the directors, the managers, the presidents, especially. I think right now it's just Shani Gonzalez, who's come from the US, but in terms of having their own businesses, it's sort of us, but own labels as well. I say it all the time, like I'm so happy to see all these Black men get their JVs, but I'm yet to see a Black woman yet. So I think in this sort of things, outside of the actual physical corporate world, I'd like to see more women, have their own labels, and that's it really.
I couldn't agree with you more. Honestly, I couldn't. I've seen some other questions pop in. I think. Is there time for one more? Okay, let's do another.
Yeah, Whitney, we have Burke and No Hair. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. He's got his hand up. So did you want to unmute and ask your question?
Yep. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Nicole.
Evening.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've met before, Nicole. Just wanted to say, first and foremost, some really great stories. My main question is why is there such a fear of strong Black women in any sort of business environment? Because I find that quite disturbing and quite upsetting.
great question. Who wants to tackle that?
I think as Black women, we're afforded those stereotypes which are like, oh, you're aggressive, or, you know, if you speak up, then you're combative. And those are the kind of narratives that have been given to all of us. So naturally, if you're not used to kind of being around Black women, you don't want to go to work with someone that's ghetto or combative or loud. And so I think that scares people. And actually, we're assertive, we're very, very strong, because we've had to push harder than most of the people that are around us. And so some people might see it as confrontational, or you ask for more money, so you might be seen as greedy. Ultimately, these people believe that we should probably be paid less and seen but not heard. So when you're trying to break down that boundary, you're gonna be pushed into the stereotypes that people have built before you even kind of get to your actual point. And so it makes it very, very difficult for us just to move up within certain industries, because that's the wall that has been built before us.
Shawnee, I think you were going to maybe say something. I'll repeat the question. Is, you know, why do people fear powerful Black women in business?
Yeah, I think it is the stereotype, you know, because I'm sure we've all been there, and you might just have just a minor disagreement and you get called aggressive, things like that. You know, like, I'm quite assertive, like, I'm really funny and jokey when I'm ready, but, you know, if you say something kind of out of pocket, I'll just sort of tell you. And I've been called into HR, I've been called aggressive, and we know what that's embedded in. It's racist, in my opinion. And I think it's not necessarily a fear. I think it's probably more just uncomfort, if that makes sense. You know, like, you know, uncomfortable. Like, I've been in a workplace and someone's and had complaints about me, but nobody said anything to my face, you know. But and it's been really, really small, minor things that, like, you could have just said, you know, I was talking a bit loud, or whatever it is, and you run straight to HR. You know what I mean? I think that's more, or maybe that is a fear then. But I don't know if I'd call it a fear, because I wouldn't say anyone's like scared of me, but it's just, maybe it's a fear actually, but it's just that uncomfort. That's what I think it is.
But what I think needs to be understood is what actually, what is at the root of that, especially if you haven't displayed aggressive behaviour.
Yeah.
To be labelled as that, or for people to be instantly avoidant of you, when they might feel more comfortable to challenge something they didn't like, or bring up an issue with a different colleague. I think that is, you know, the thing that we need to be able to weed out and understand and dissect as to why that might happen. But ultimately, I guess that is also, you know, part of people's
unconscious bias. That's what we call it. Unconscious bias. That's what it is.
Yeah, racism.
Yeah. Nikkei, did you want to add onto that?
I disagree with everything that has been said already. I think it just comes down to unconscious bias, a sense of wanting to feel like not wanting to feel uncomfortable, I guess, with the people you work with, and feeling just a lack of what's the word, not being able to identify with Black women. So then being like, oh, you know, I don't really want to work with them. I'd rather work with Tom, who looks like me, similar background. Do you know what I mean? I think a lot of that drives the opportunities that are afforded to us and that are open to us. Just people wanting to feel comfortable and being surrounded by their mates and, you know, people who look like them, I think.
I have a theory, and I think the three of you, as I touched on before, have proven it, which is that I think if there were more of us in charge, our motive would be to educate all, to make it an even playing field. And actually, like, our economy and the industry thrives on there being people at different levels, and disparity and knowledge gaps, and it would be problematic for us to share the knowledge and have everyone knowing their rights and fighting for fair contracts and, you know, promoting people fairly. And I think that can also contribute towards being a fear. I think that for all the Black women that I know, and I'm not just actually just going to say just black women, for the women that I know, they're fearless. They call out what they see as injustice, or at least definitely have a problem with it, and wouldn't feel comfortable benefiting from it, whereas unfortunately some of our male counterparts would and do. And so if we are the whistleblowers, or the people that are, you know, constantly trying to bridge the gaps and pull people together, it doesn't quite work for you know, enabling the people at the top to stay at the top, and for more people to come through.
I didn't think of it that way, but I think you're right.
That is all. Do we have time for one more? I'm just conscious of the time. We've got 5 more minutes on this Zoom. Was there another question or something that someone else wanted to add? Bearing in mind I can't see the chat, guys. So I'll try. Hold on.
I did see a question which is a bit kind of, well, I don't think it's controversial, but I saw a question that basically said, as a female manager, how do you work with male artists? Or let me see if I can find it. But it was something along those lines.
I'll tell you, it was, how do you maintain professional boundaries when working with male talent?
I was talking to someone recently about this. Yes, I remember who it was now. It was a stylist, and we were talking about the idea that you kind of come into the music industry being really, like, you know, open and bubbly and just not thinking too deeply about how you're perceived, and then it just takes a few comments. Like for me it was, oh hi, you Shaka's girlfriend? Or are you Shaka's stylist? It takes a few comments like that for you to realize, okay, so unless I'm kind of project a certain air of, I don't know, like, you know, confidence and sternness, then I'm going to be, you know, assumed to be, you know, something that I'm not. And so as a result, I think myself and the stylist, we both agreed we've become a bit serious. We've become a bit stern. Like that's the way we kind of get through. You can't kind of be too jovial, because then it just suddenly gets, you know, into the wrong territory in terms of how you're considered. And it's a shame, you know, like, because it's like there's always something that you're kind of battling against. I've got this incredible freedom, which I'm so grateful for, which is, you know, I can kind of, you know, divide my time as I'd like. And, you know, I've traveled the world extensively as a result of like being in the music industry, but there's just that thing of not being able to be your full, relaxed, open self, because you might just not be taken seriously. And in terms of working with the male talent, I've been lucky enough that they've, you know, by and large observed the boundaries. They haven't really kind of, you know, they've just more seen me as a sister, and we've, you know, and by the way I've carried myself, they've just shown me that respect. So yeah, that's been my experience.
Yeah, I've had the same experiences, the same, oh, so I went to Westwood's crib session. Someone was like, "You a dancer?" And I was like, "Sorry, what?" Like, make that make sense. I get that all the time. Or you the girlfriend, or just ignored, completely ignored. Like, "Oh, you're right, guys, you're right," and nothing. And I think sometimes it's just like, I ask someone, "Well, why do you ignore the girl?" And they think, "Oh, well, I assumed that you might be someone's girlfriend, so I didn't want to come across disrespectful by greeting you." And I was like, just, that doesn't make sense.
It's wild, isn't it?
It's just like, how did you get to that? But anyway, working with them is, I think it's completely different. When you either approach an artist to manage, or you're working with, or they approach you to manage, it's always kind of, I guess at that point is where the boundaries are set. And yeah, when you manage anyone, even a female, it's a family unit. So it's even difficult to see people like that anyway. But yeah, it's a difficult one. I think you definitely have to continue to assert yourself in that position regardless, and let people know, like, look, I'm the manager. Don't think that I'm the, and even if you are the stylist, so what? You deserve the respect too. Do you know what I mean? I'm not a backing dancer, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. Even if I was, you should still greet me regardless. Like, I don't understand that ignoring women because they might not be the manager or someone high up. greet everyone. We're females and we deserve respect. And there might be a male that's just there to hang, but you would say hello to him. So say hi to me. Thanks.
Yeah, I've had something in the studio once, and we were going over, it was quite a big artist, but we were going over the publishing splits. And one of the guys that was hanging out with the artist telling me, goes, "Oh, look at you, little businesswoman." And I just had to look him dead in his face, like, was you serious about that comment? Like, and they were like, "Oh, no, it's Shawnee, blah, 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 that's what she says." And I was like, "No, but why do you have to explain that for him to show me some respect?" And I was like, "What are you even doing?" I kicked him out. I said, "No, he's got to go. If I'm working with you, he has to go." And unfortunately, that's how you have to be. So, like, there are a lot of men out there, like, that don't like me. Like, I've had someone, you know, come to see an artist I was working with and thought he could just not show up. And, like, for the most part, like, you know, give it to someone when I'm ready. And I had to, because I was like, you know, I left my son, barely saw him all day, to be here. And you didn't show up. Like, why do you think that's okay? And for the most part, like, just being known as being like, you know, then you can call me aggressive, that's fine, because I will be. And I hate that, like, because I'm really not that person. Like, Nikki knows me really well. I love a good drink and a laugh, but I don't think we're afforded that luxury. You know, I have to wait till I really get to know you. And then I'll relax and I'll say, let's have a drink and we'll have a giggle. But in the start, I have to be really, really assertive, because otherwise they just take the mick, I just find, you know, or I get those silly little comments, or I've been mistaken for stylist, video girls, PA, like someone asked if I was the secretary, and I was like, this person is not even big enough to have a secretary. What are you talking about, you know? So we do have to be tough, like, unfortunately, you know? So yeah, that's what I'd say to that.
I think it's a shame to have to, like, lose your softness as a woman when you come into the industry, and I don't have, unfortunately, even a solution, because it seems to be commonplace. So I'm saying something that I also don't know how to challenge, but I find, you know, with a lot of the women that I know that I'm close to in the industry, there's a softness that they feel only comfortable showing once you're, you know, at home or in private, or you've actually really established friendships. But in the beginning, you have to kind of almost, just be assertive and be confident, and let people know who and what you are, and introduce yourself to the people that are going to walk in the room and assume that you're the assistant, so I don't have to speak to you. It's like, oh, hi, by the way, I'm management, you know, and you have to do it. Sorry, Nikki, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I just think I'm going to say something controversial, but I feel like...
in the last couple of seconds, go on.
We've established that we're kind of working against this backdrop of sexism and racism. And I feel like an example in terms of, just today, I was talking to an amazing radio plugger, Mel Rudder. And I was just like, I can't get my head around the fact that in 2021, when we've had countless Black artists chart their albums, you know, Nines has had a #1 album, like Fredo's had a top 3 album, Jay Huss, it's countless, yeah? How do we justify that Black artists have to, as a rule of thumb, make their way through 1Extra before getting considered for Radio 1 playlists? That blows my mind.
That's something I am very vocal about. That's where we're at. I make money off the publishing. That's public performance, radio play, and PPL. And the fact that, you know, like Rover was top 3, Simba, top 3 song, it hit 3 in the charts, and it was missing off of the radio charts. That's where we're at a disadvantage, because our music is not deemed as, even though that's blatantly a pop record, that should have been on Six Music, and all those are the high earning channels when it comes to public performance.
Exactly, because that's why I posted the other day on my Instagram to show how much you earn per play on 1Extra as opposed to Radio 1, and people were outraged, just like, you know, why the disparity? And it used to be, as we were saying before, it used to be, oh, Black music doesn't sell and it's this niche thing. Now it's dominating the charts. What is the excuse now, please? I'd like to hear it from whoever can tell me.
I've got a friend who's on the end who works at Six Music, and she said she's bought countless of these like super hot records that have been pop records by Black artists, and they've been like, oh, we think this is for 1Extra. And that's when my blood boils, because that's what we talk about, how we're at a disadvantage. It's that would you call that unconscious bias? Would you call it racism? Like, I don't even know what to label it, but it's just wrong. That's all I know.
And the difficulty is, obviously, One Extra is an incredible incubator of talent for Black music at a really early level. But for me, if you've had chart success time and time again, why, when I then release another single, must I prove myself on a smaller station where I'm going to get paid less? Do you know what I mean? What's that? Why? I don't get it.
This is such, I mean, gosh, this is such a nuanced and layered conversation. I feel like it's a whole new panel, but it's so true. Right, I think we have to wrap up, you know, guys. Thank you so much for your contribution. It's been amazing chatting to you guys. I definitely just wanted to give everyone like enough space to have the floor. I think sometimes when you get on panels, it's a lot of like people talking about themselves. So you guys have really shared your expertise, your knowledge, your perspectives. It's been really insightful for me to listen and actually be part of the conversation. So I hope everyone else on the call felt the same, and that there's some takeaways, yeah, from this experience. Oh, I can see the claps. Thanks.
You've been an amazing host as well. You've been
incredible really moderator.
Thank you. Everyone clap for themselves. All right, amazing, guys. Cool. Well, I think that we at some point will be sharing the details for the next session. But for now, thank you for joining. I don't really know how to sign off. I'm not even gonna lie. That's the truth of it. I don't know how we're going to sign off.
I've got a few words to end.
Sorry?
I do have a few words to end. Your sign off was perfect. Yes, thank you to all of our panelists. Thank you to Whitney for taking over as host. I bow down, and I'm so excited for 2021 for the conversations. And I have to say that Nikkei and Shawnee, the last two comments you added in there about Radio 1, we are already on it. So there is going to be another conversation that is discussing exactly that. So I want you to join as well and chime in. We are going to be taking the industry down with this. But thank you everyone for joining. We're going to send out a Google form at the end so everyone can kind of give feedback. If there's anyone that wants to be involved, we're going to be having some roundtable events quarterly to kind of dig deeper for those who are more interested in, you know, deeper discussions in the industry, and we implore everyone to get involved. Please follow our panelists. Their socials are here in the chat. They have been amazing tonight, and I really want everyone to just shout them out, and please, you know, give as much good feedback as possible. And thank you all, and see you next month.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.